Aloha and good afternoon or good morning, everybody. It's morning time here in beautiful Honolulu. Welcome everyone to a very special World Tourism Network event in cooperation with eTurbo News and Livestream.travel. Today we're going to be talking about World Travel Market, WTM, different from us. What is WTN? What of course stands for World Tourism Network. I also wanted to recognize some of our most loyal participants. Stephen Brown, for example, he's been, I don't think he ever missed a session. He's in New York, British guy in New York, former American Airlines. And I wanted to also recognize especially Professor Snow White. I cannot really pronounce her real last name, but Professor Snow White is in Serbia, and she's running our educational interest group. Now, just for those that are live on eTurbo News and that are watching on our social media, let me just explain who we are. The World Tourism Network was emerged out of the rebuilding.travel discussion. We started back exactly about a year ago. It's a little bit less than a year ago in March during a non-existing ITB trade show in Berlin. And it was a joint event when we started together with the Pacific Asia Travel Association, PATA, in Berlin. And even though ITB did not take place, we had a mini event at the Grand Hyatt Hotel in Berlin, and kind of are the pioneers talking about Corona, when no one really knew how bad it's really, it could really get. In the meantime, World Tourism Network, we have close to 1,400 members. These are about 1,000 full members and 400 observers in 126, actually 127 countries. We just added St. Kitts, I have to say. So 127 countries around the world. So that makes us quite international. And many of you who are on the live audience have attended many of our events. We had daily events in December leading to the official launch of WTN. And many of you, like Stephen, has been on almost every event. The way we keep it is really not really in a way that two people speak and everyone else shut up. We want this to be interactive. So you can ask questions. Yes, there is a chat room, but to be honest with you, it's quite hard to monitor the event and look at the chat. So easier is that if you have something to contribute, just raise your hand. There is a blue button on the right side. You can just raise your hand and we can see this and we give you the microphone. That makes it more personal too. Don't be shy to show your camera. So we know who's behind it, if you can. It'll be a fun event because this time the world travel market, of course, is something all of us know, and I think most of us attended someplace in the world. We all missed WTM in London in November. What became, for me at least, for the last 20 or even more years, a yearly thing to go to. And there was no London. I mean, I feel like lost. I still got my subway card here, and hopefully it's going to be good next year. Now, I also wanted to welcome my co-host, Dr. Peter Paulo. Peter is based in College Station, Texas, and we've been working together also with Dr. Taleb Rifai, who might be joining us a little bit later. He was the former Secretary General for the UNWTO. And Peter, how's everything in Texas?
Mute. Everything is great. I'm looking forward to this session. I think it's going to be really interesting. And I see this session as really one of the ways that we can begin to rebuild travel and tourism. And maybe we're coming, hopefully, to the outside, to the other side of the tunnel. Let's hope so. And let's hope that we get really tourism back on track. I know I'm ready to go. I had my second vaccine last week. And so I feel like I was now given, it's like a third PhD. I feel like I'm back in the world and ready to go. So I'm looking forward to this session. I'm sure it's going to be a really interesting one. And we'll make comments along the way. So welcome to everyone. Seja bem-vindos. Welcome to everybody. And Brazil is a great country. So this will be a wonderful experience, both from the Brazilian experience and also from the tourism experience.
Yeah, and of course, Peter, Ruben is joining us from Argentina. That is very important. He's in the neighborhood. And of course, Brazil is only one part of world of Reed Exhibition. Reed Exhibition, I think, is going to start off with a live event, if I understand this correctly, for the Arabian travel market in Dubai in May, I believe. And I have to say, I've been to, I think, every single Arabian travel market since you started, and it's something I'm looking forward to. But how safe is it to travel? I mean, we all need to get the vaccine. At least that would put us at ease, and we're making progress. And it's kind of a brave decision. It may not only be just brave, it may also be an economical decision. But we will hear more from our two guests today. We have Simon Mayle. He's joining us, I believe, from Sao Paulo. He's with Reed and her colleague, Natalia. And welcome, Simon. So the floor is yours. Thanks for participating.
En nuestra época, nuestros padres no tenían que ir al gimnasio, tenían que hacer, no tenían estrés. Entonces, por ahí en vez de viajar, arreglaban la cocina o compraban un mueble, cambiaban el auto. Hoy, en tiempos actuales donde la tecnología, la invasión, el estrés hacen indispensable el viaje como una razón casi de tratamiento de salud.
Quando você vê diversas empresas presentes aqui no evento, ao mesmo tempo que elas podem realizar o sonho de uma pessoa que está indo viajar para um determinado destino, de uma família, se alguma coisa sai errado, é o sonho que está dando errado, né? Então tem muita responsabilidade nisso e acho que todo mundo que está aqui no evento se esforça para fazer com que essa experiência, essa viagem ocorra da melhor forma possível e todo mundo volte com boas lembranças.
I just feel that my job is very important because, I'm thinking about when I'm telling people about how to come to my destination, helping them to do that. I'm doing a great job to connect people. I think that's the best thing that I could ever have done in my life.
Trabalhar no turismo é como ser um mensageiro de felicidade. E quem não gosta de dar felicidade para as outras pessoas e para si próprio? A indústria do turismo é algo que é muito, muito, muito importante.
Estar en esta industria es mágico y viajar es para todo ser humano una recompensa. Ser parte de esto es mucha responsabilidad, es un compromiso. Son experiencias que no se olvidan, que se comparten, que son de crecimiento personal y ya son parte de nuestras vidas. Cambia a las personas de todas maneras.
Live how others live in their country, get a little sense of culture, and take it home, and in most cases, bring that piece back home, change others' lives, and go, hey guys, there's other ways to do things, and just have a different, more of an open mind. Open mind opens all the doors.
When you learn more about the others, you understand more about the people, understand more about different cultures, and that makes peace to the world. This is why people must travel.
Thanks so much, Jürgen. Thank you, Peter. I'm really impressed with your knowledge of Brazil and Portuguese. It's great. And I love being part of this group. It's making me feel truly like a global citizen again, with my British friends in New York, Serbia, Argentina, all here together. It's really fantastic. And thank you for that kind introduction. It sounds, Jürgen, to me like you've been to more of Reed Travel Exhibitions events than I have. But I have been with the company for 11 years now. I was born into a family of travel professionals. My parents met working in a travel agency, actually. But then I fell into the world of exhibitions and ended up in the world of travel exhibitions. So what was in the blood merged with what was kind of in the brain at the time. And here we are. So I'm responsible for World Travel Market in Latin America, based out of here in Sao Paulo, as well as our international luxury travel events in the Americas. So ILTM North America in Mexico, ILTM Latin America also in Sao Paulo. And our newest event, Proud Experiences, which is for the travel trade, looking to improve the LGBTQ travelers experience. And that takes place in New York. But you're absolutely right. Our first event of the year is set to be Arabian Travel Market in Dubai. And that'll be in May of this year. And then we will have a virtual only event, which will be WTM Africa, that's taking place in April. But I'm sure you'll all agree, we are all desperate for human connection. Whilst we're all embracing the value and the incredible power of digital that brings us all together from around the world in varying different time zones, we are really missing a human connection. We're missing really looking in the eyes of somebody, feeling the emotion, those intangible aspects that we get. And I really believe that for travel and tourism as a sector, the whole reason I travel is to understand people, understand different cultures, to connect with people. So I think we need those travel events to bring that connection alive.
Wonderful. I mean, now I think probably what everyone wants to know, how safe is it? Should we travel to Brazil? Brazil is unfortunately still leading. I think it's one of the leading countries, and it's not a good place to lead a number of infections and death. Many say the president in Brazil has ignored the problem for the most part, what caused a lot for these numbers to increase, kind of in the same boat as we are here in the United States. So how do you see, what type of live audience are you attracting? Is this going to be like a domestic audience? Are you looking for international audience? How do you keep the place safe?
Well, many questions all in one, but and they're all brilliant questions, Jürgen. I think firstly and most importantly, the biggest thing I learned throughout the COVID pandemic, and certainly as things progressed, everyone's level of comfort is very different. And I think we have to respect everyone's level of comfort and kind of treat them as such. I've had the fortunate opportunity to travel to the UK in August from Brazil and back to Brazil and travel around Brazil, which I believe I've done in a very responsible way, and every company that I've traveled with or hotels that I've stayed in over that period have done so in a very responsible way. Brazil, yes, we have a lot of synergies with the US, and some of those synergies are the ways that the states, the individual states themselves have dealt with the pandemic and are dealing with that. I'm very happy with how Sao Paulo has really grasped hold of this. And of course, Sao Paulo is where the event is taking place. One interesting thing that I will say about Brazil, and whilst we're playing catch up with the rest of the world, it does have some advantages in that it is the world's biggest national health system. It has a public health system for 200 million people that works. And more importantly, it has a historical vaccination program to roll out various different vaccines across Brazil. So it has the biggest, most evolved vaccination system in the world. It's some 30,000 vaccination stations across Brazil. But of course, Brazil is an enormous continent, and Sao Paulo to Manaus is a vast distance and quite different worlds. Events as a whole, I feel very strongly and very passionately that as professional event organizers and one of the world's leading event organizers, and certainly the leading travel event organizers, protocols, safety and security of our attendees is not only paramount, but we want to be leading the way in terms of delivering safe and secure events and exhibitions for the future. And we believe that events and exhibitions are we can control those environments, and we can control the experience for many people in other ways that many other sectors can't. So whether it's to do with density, whether it's to do with checks that take place, whether it's to do with mask usage, hygiene, we really can control all of those situations and the communication levels with them. And then to answer your question, I think, yes, you're absolutely right. I think travel as a whole, we will see much more regional travel in the short term. Of course, our events will be more regional to a certain extent, but all of our events will have a hybrid virtual element to it that allows for that continued international connection, so that when we're exactly what you're talking about, rebuilding and restarting travel, we've got to prepare for that, because what we do know is certainly on a leisure aspect, that travel will boom back. The discretional spend that people have, the power of that discretional spend will be faster spent on travel than it will be on many other stuff. Of course, I especially here in Brazil, I've been in my shorts and my flip-flops and t-shirts all day long, and I'm not buying my suits, but I will be buying my travel and buying it in a big way, faster than I will be spending on a suit and a tie.
Yes. If I could add something to that, Simon, I think one of the important things to remember when you look at these statistical analyses are they're not equal distributions across the country. So there are areas of Brazil that have some real issues with COVID, and there are areas that you're not going to have those same problems. Even in the city of Sao Paulo, which is a very advanced city, part of Sao Paulo where this type of convention would be taking place has extremely good hygiene, et cetera, Now, there are other areas called favelas where you're going to have a very different form of situation. But we have to be really careful when we look at the statistics, because internationally, we group a whole country together. And in this case of Brazil, it's like saying all of Europe. So having worked on the Olympics and on the World Cup, I know that when the Brazilians want to put on a show, they put on a good show. And we really worked hard to make sure that both the Olympics and the World Cup went off without a hitch, and we did. So I'm absolutely confident that somebody could go to Sao Paulo, and unless they were looking for trouble, they will be able to go and come back without a problem, assuming they take normal precautions.
I love that, Peter, and you're absolutely right. And I think even before, when we were talking about it, you were alluding to the fact of the difference between Rio and Sao Paulo, for example, and Rio being undoubtedly one of the most beautiful cities on this planet. But the difference, for example, with Rio is that you have the richest people and some of the poorest people in South America living side by side. Sao Paulo has a very different makeup, where you have quite a large part in the middle of Sao Paulo, which is very developed and very wealthy, and unfortunately the poverty lies on the periphery of our great metropolis here. So it does make the experience of the city very different, the two cities
Americans, especially North Americans, have trouble understanding that the wealthier people live in the city and the people who live on the outskirts who really are where you're going to have more situations. Of course, for those who don't know Brazil, people say that people earn their money in Sao Paulo and spend it in Rio, which is on some level true. But on the other hand, some of the best restaurants in the world, great museums, and wonderful shopping exist in Sao Paulo. So if you've earned your money, there's lots of places to spend it.
And now, when you also the timing is, I'm quite curious about the timing because the event is planned for August. Now, in many US states, like here in Hawaii, I expect my shot, and I'm not in a priority group, unfortunately, be able to get it in June, July, what is right before August. And I think this is true specifically in North America for many, and possibly also in many other countries for the same. So do you think the time is ideal to concentrate and attract people that actually had the COVID shots that maybe might be able to travel more with more an easy feeling than possibly taking a chance?
I think I have to be very honest with you. I think we wanted to start 2021, all of us, in January with a lot more certainty. And still we're taking everything day by day in terms of certain where the world is at and how the world is progressing. And, you know, I sit and look back at my friends back in the UK and my family, and of course, you know, the vast majority of my connections are already being vaccinated, and I've got many friends vaccinated in the US as well, and progressing at incredible speed. But who would have expected Europe to be trailing behind the UK? But of course, the UK still has its troubles with its numbers right now. So I think we're gonna have to watch this space, and I think as long as we always say, you know, at the end of the day, our jobs as event organizers, we're actually relationship brokers. We're putting the right people together to do business. We're making sure it's easy for people in the travel and tourism business to do business. Now, whether that platform is physical or whether it's virtual, that doesn't matter. It's about the connection that we put people together. Of course, we want physical events, but it won't always be possible. So those people that can't physically travel to the event, they've got an alternative option. So we're going to run the physical event here in the first week of August. A week after, it will be open to all the same people, plus all the international people, certainly non-Latins or non-South Americans, for example, who aren't able to attend, can do so through the virtual event.
And I think I saw the same is true for the Arabian travel market, because you have two different dates. You have a physical date, and then I think you have a virtual date coming up after this. Now, for those attending physical, we had a session and some articles on eTober News just about a week or two ago, and it was about the type of mask people should be wearing. Like, for instance, we've talked to a pharmacist in Germany who explained that in Germany, the cotton masks, where they're quite common here in the United States, are no longer really legal to wear. You have to go with what they call FFP2 masks, what is similar here in the US to N95, or possibly in China, KN95, or Korea, N94 masks. So these are more secure masks that actually meant to protect not only the people around you, but yourself. Now, coming to Brazil, and I have no idea what the requirements are in Brazil, but as an international organization doing a trade show, wanted to keep people safe. Would this be a requirement to enter your premises with a secure mask and not just any mask?
So I think one of the first things to point out that again, I'm also very proud of Brazil and the Brazilians, and very different to my home country, the UK, is that culturally, mask wearing in Brazil is everywhere. So the minute you step outside, your door, everyone is using a mask all the time. Whereas, we go to the UK and certainly in August, and when the numbers were incredibly low, people were not using masks and they were not using masks outside. So I think that gives me confidence. What we're doing is we have a set of standards and a set of protocols that are consistently evolving. Now, there will be a certain level of responsibility that will be placed on the individuals, and we won't be running a kind of a police state in terms of the events, but we will be setting out a list of expectations and protocols and educating as things move along and the closer we get to the event. So I think those protocols and those announcements will be rolled out from June, July, and into the event immediately prior to the event as well. But mask wearing will be obligatory throughout.
And I see some activities here in our chat group. So if you have any questions, instead of writing it on the chat group, just raise your hand and you can be part of this discussion. So before you get the courage to do this, let me just welcome Marika Donato. Marika is running our interest group for tour guides, and she wants to say a few things and also alert you to the role of tour guides in the world and an upcoming event we're doing together. Welcome, Marika. She's in Florida, I'm sorry, she's in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. Go ahead. I don't know can you hear us?
She might be muted.
There she is. Okay.
Is it okay? Can you hear me and see me?
Yes, we can see you. Go ahead.
Okay. So everyone, welcome, and thank you for inviting me to come today. This is a very interesting conversation, but I'd also like to invite all of you to come to on Monday, February 15, at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, when we're going to promote the International Tourist Guide Day. Okay, so it is a day that we celebrate the tourist guide around the world. And go ahead, Jürgen.
No, and that's wonderful. And you can actually sign up at worldtourismevents.com, or you can easily go to the WTN website, click on interest groups, and you find the tourist guide interest group. Marika is leading, and there's also an article about the upcoming event. And we had some wonderful events. Actually, we went through the inauguration in Washington and were guided by local tour guides, and they had some great stories to tell. So I'm wondering, since we have WTM here, how are tour guides involved in World Travel Market Exhibition? There's such interesting bunch of people, and they're everywhere in the world, and they have a lot of stories to tell. Probably would make an event like WTM a lot very interesting and can add to a lot of the fun. Are you guys working together at all?
Is that question for Simon?
Yeah, let's go with Simon here. I'm going to add him to the spotlight here.
Hello. Of course, we'd be delighted to work together. And actually, as you were talking, I was reading some of the comments as well, and was loving Jenny Horowitz's comment about how Sao Paulo has the biggest gay pride in the world, which is absolutely true. And it's quite surprising for many people. And Wolfgang's comments about how Sao Paulo is not for a tourist. I would say all of my British or foreign friends that I brought to Brazil, Sao Paulo was the greatest surprise for them. But to do Sao Paulo, you really need a tour guide. As a single solo tourist, you couldn't do it alone. So the role of tour guide, 100%. And of course, we're going to need tour guides to show our international visitors, even if they're our neighbors from Argentina, how wonderful Sao Paulo is for, as Dr. Peter said, gastronomy, museum, architecture, Oscar Niemeyer, these kind of wonderful things.
You also have a great zoo there and the World Center for Snakes, for people who are interested in poisonous snakes. which is, I know I kind of shocked you there, but if you're interested in any of the forms of jungle animals, etc., that's a really wonderful place to learn about them. The other thing academically is the USP, the University of Sao Paulo, is a really world famous center, not only for Brazil, but for all of Latin America. And it has consistently really great programs that are going on in Sao Paulo at the university. So if you want to find a full week of activities in Sao Paulo, you can do it. In a city of 11 million people, you won't be bored.
No, it's definitely not a boring city. I can tell you that last time I've been to Sao Paulo was many years ago, before the internet. And actually I had an office for a while. And we did, we together with a friend from Peru. So I remember Sao Paulo very well, great city. And I'm sure it has changed over the last 40 or 30 some years. So I'm hopefully we can make it out there. If I get my shots, I definitely wanted to attend this event. I wanted to recognize also Professor Snow White in Serbia. She's now joining us. I can see her face here. And she actually is in charge of our educational interest group. Welcome. How is everything in Serbia? Can you turn your microphone on, please? No, you're still muted, I think. There we go.
Hear me? Yes, sorry, I unmuted it. Good evening from Serbia. It is much better now because vaccination is going on very good. Serbia is on the second place in Europe by vaccination. We are doing that very good. We got 500,000 of vaccine today. And last week we got about 1 million of vaccine. So people are now better. Revaccination was starting this week. So we are going to, at least, I think at the end of the March, we will have about 30 or 40% of the population vaccinated, which is very good for tourism, because then you can travel around. And I just remembered, because World Travel Market is the history of my working in tourism, because I was at the very first World Travel Market in London, because I was working for Hugo Tours London at that time. And I remember that that evening in the Commonwealth Institute, it was the very first World Travel Market in London. So I think that it is very important for us for starting these tourist markets all around the world. If we can't travel, then we can do it like this virtually. But it is very important, I think, that we are not going to stop with that, and because of that, I joined this session as well. I'm joining all session of World Travel Network, because I think that this is very important for all of us. And people in Serbia are now hearing about the World Travel Network, and they're asking me, and I hope that a lot of them will join, which is very important for us. But let's go back to the subject and to the point. This is very important for us if we can have all travel markets this year. But unfortunately, we can't. For example, a travel market in Belgrade every year, it was in February. This year, they announced that it is going to be in April, travel market in Belgrade. I'm not sure that we can do it in a classical way, but I'm sure that we can do it online. So I will try to help them as well. So we can, I will invite all of you when we have actually everything about this travel market in Belgrade. I would really like to go to Sao Paulo, because I have never been there. I've been to Brazil, but I haven't been to that part of the country. So this is from me for now. And of course, I will join on the 15th of February for a tour guide evening. As I'm also, as you know, Jürgen knows that I'm a licensed guide as well, although I'm a university professor. But my starting, when I was starting in tourism, it was in London, and the first tourist market was World Travel Mart in London. So I'm really it is very important travel market for me, and I'm going every year to London. Even now, on my diary, beginning of November is for London. So I hope to go to London this year in November. Thank you for now.
Yeah, and it's really, we're starting kind of with a clean slate. You know, this Corona really has brought the world to a halt, and Reed seems to be setting a trend, seems to be setting a new way of showing the world how to create or continue, the world travel market in under different circumstances. So I think we're all very interested to find out how Reed is doing this. And of course, everyone in the industry is supporting this, but we're also very concerned about the safety. So hopefully WTM can set a trend here. We have a gentleman here, and I don't know if I put you on the spot, Ruben, but Ruben is joining us from Argentina. And I'm just wondering, how do you feel? Are you going to go to Sao Paulo? You have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Hello to everybody. Hello, Jürgen. Thank you very much for the invitation. Well, if I have the opportunity, of course, I will join WTM. I was in prior fairs there, of course, also in London, but also in Sao Paulo, because for us who are here in the region, I am based in Buenos Aires, Simon. I don't know when you have been here for the last time.
Many times.
In Buenos Aires, yeah. Well,
definitely beautiful city.
Yeah, I'm also very often in Sao Paulo. There are many customers there, so I hope to have the opportunity to, let's see in August how this situation evolves with the vaccination, with all of us having and taking care. And I mean, the fair is very important, but more important for all of us is that finally tourism begins again to go, and that many people, I don't know who just wrote, I think it was Wolfgang who said many people are want to travel, they want to they are dreaming to travel, and I hope all of us, we can make all that dreams reality, that people really can have the chance and the opportunity to travel all over the world, and that this activity also recovers finally this year, next year. I mean recovers. I don't want to say when or what, but I hope to recover for all the players in this industry. I mean, for the fair organizers, for the airlines, for us who are consultants and travel agents, and of course tour guides, and all over the world, to restaurants and I don't know, hospitality and the airports and transfers, all are affected. All are affected. We must think in that, and I hope the opportunity is going to be to recover this activity. So thank you very much for this opportunity, Jürgen, and I hope to have the opportunity to say hello to Simon and Natalia.
Thank you very much. And my friend Wolfgang is with Skoll in Düsseldorf, Germany. I'm actually a member of his Skoll club, even though I left Germany back in 1982. And I was born and raised in Düsseldorf, so it's my hometown still. And when I saw that he had a question, of course, Wolfgang, you got the microphone.
Yes, good evening from Germany to all of you. I dig very deep in this matter because I organize a worldwide survey with the Worldwide Skoll organization, which will be rolled out end of February, about questions, how do local entrepreneurs think about how tourism can be started. And the digger I deep, the more I am convinced, well, the very positive thing is the demand is there, obviously. People want to travel, which is different to the business travel because they are very uncertain in business travel how much of the business travel will be substituted by virtual activities. Tourism basically cannot be substituted. It can be an add-on now, but it cannot be substituted. That's a very big advantage. And the second point I want to make is there won't be a big bang. As from tomorrow on, everything is possible. No, it will be step by step. So every destination, everyone who offers services, and I agree, it's such a huge, tremendous, we have the official people who make money, and even more, we have unofficial people making money in Brazil, in Mexico, even in Mallorca. People are jobless in Mallorca now, one of the richest destinations. Crime is increasing in Mallorca now because people don't have money to feed their families. So things will be step by step. So every destination must make a plan how to do it step by step. And at the beginning, it will be with a lot of restrictions, definitely. Wearing masks, keeping distance, vaccination, yes or no, which is a very big ethical, political, tourist safety issue. And so everyone should be aware of making a step-by-step plan how, when things open step by step. For instance, you must have volume and time control, even at churches, at museums, at public places which are crowded. At the beach of Rio de Janeiro, when I see that, people won't go to places who are crowded. In Venice, in the Karlsbrücke, in Prague, and all these places, yeah? So you must be aware, you go with a group, you want to do an excursion, and the area is blocked by police because it's crowded. So how can you organize your tours? So I think there must be a much more digital control, what we have for hotels and for planes and for trains. There must be digital control and access permission for places of tourist interest. Restaurants, for instance, definitely. It can't be that what you see now, every place which opens, long queues outside, because everyone wants to go there. And then they say, okay, we can accept 50 people. Now you have to wait until someone comes out, one in. And you have long queues at supermarkets, at department stores. It can't be that all the movement is controlled by police and you have your security staff and all this. So you must have a digital system and say, okay, you can book to visit this church for 2 hours, then and then, take your choice. You get your ticket on your mobile phone, and then people don't go there if they don't have this access permission. You avoid the queues outside, and the queues outside lead to packed crowds and no distance, and you are in the mess. This is something which I think is very important for reviving or revitalizing tourism.
Yeah, thank you, Wolfgang. And anyone wanted to comment, feel free to do so. I have Jacob Lassisi, and I don't know, Jacob, where you're joining us from. You raised your hand. Go ahead. Yep.
much, coordinator.
Where are you at, Jacob?
I'm joining us from Delta State in Nigeria.
Welcome. You had a question.
For this opportunity, I'm really glad to be part of this organization. I'm a lecturer, and also I'm into all this traveling agency. Talking about the restriction that have been placed on us by COVID-19. In Nigeria here, it has not been easy. The major reason being that we are constrained, especially when it comes to movement. And not that the effect of COVID-19 affects that much in Nigeria, but due to corruption in our leadership. So they place everybody on hold. There's hardly any tourism activity going on in Nigeria. You see people hanging their nose masks around their jaw, not covering their faces. But actually, it becomes a necessity for you to put on your nose mask, even when it's not serving the purpose it's intended for. So we are looking forward to a situation where the effect of this COVID-19 can be cut once and forever. Because in schools, there are a lot of issues going on. You can hardly have any free movement to impact of COVID-19. And that has brought about negative consequences on the tourism industry in Nigeria. Almost every offices are locked down. Not that the coronavirus is affecting us that much, no. But the corrupt leadership in Nigeria has not really allowed us to actually tackle this issue the way it should. Thank you so much. That is just my contribution for now. And I hope with time I'm going to know more about the activities of World Tourism Network. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jacob. And you might want to be part of our meet and greet event we have on the 28th of February together with the African Tourism Board. And we're going to be talking all about Africa and so forth. And as you know, the African Tourism Board I'm very much involved in. We started at the World Travel Market, first in London, and then officially at the World Travel Market in Cape Town. So WTM is an important part. And I understand WTM Africa this year will be held virtually. So these are all events I invite you and everyone else from Africa to be part of.
It's okay, I'll be there.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you.
Sorry.
Back to Simon. Okay, go ahead, Peter.
I wanted to emphasize, I think at the very beginning of this discussion, Simon probably hit the most important point. And that is that it is not so much just travel, it's relationship building. And in order for the economics of the world to begin to reopen, then we have to be able to have interpersonal relationships. You can do a certain amount on Zoom, but you really need to be on we don't have quality without quantity. And that quantity comes when you spend time talking at a booth or going out for dinner or having a cup of coffee together, etc. That's where really the importance of that type of market is. And we cannot just think of the tourism impact. We have to think of a total impact of the economy. Because when tourism goes down, much of the world's economy goes down. If we take the normative concept that each dollar has a multiplier effect of about $7 into a large economy, then what you're saying is if you have a $1 trillion loss, you're really saying a $7 trillion loss by the time you work through the system. That's an incredible amount. I just made up that number, but that's an example of what a number might be. The second part of that is that when tourism is not producing and we're only using Zoom, we're not paying taxes. And that's going to put us into a very difficult economic situation because governments are printing money, but they're not necessarily taking in money. And eventually that's going to create another economic situation. So in order to get the world's economy moving, we have to get moving. And part of that is the whole I work obviously in security around the world, but part of security, I think somebody mentioned, is crime rising in Mallorca and other places. in order to maintain good security, you have to have economic viability. So I would argue that the world tourism market is not just a tourism market. I accept the name, but it really has a more important role even that, which is at reinitiating the world's economy and getting us back to interfacing with each other so that we'll be able to create a better economic situation. And that's where I really think Simon's point was so important about it's not just tourism, it's relationship building.
Thank you, Peter. I don't know, Simon, if you wanted to add to it.
I just really wanted to thank everyone for their comments, from Wolfgang, Ruben, and Dr. Peter. I'm just loving talking to you all and hearing really great opinions. And even if there's some diversity in those opinions as well, I think it's really fascinating. Actually, with my other event, ILTM, we produced a piece of research in June last year, which is called, I think you'll find it at iltm.com/universe, which talks about the power of the travel industry and actually the global impact of the travel industry and how many people the travel industry employs in comparison to the automobile industry. So some 60 million people versus 5.6 million people. The real impact and the fact that 90% of the businesses that we're impacting are small and medium businesses or micro businesses, certainly in cases such as Brazil, etc. So yeah, we as the travel show are barometers of these industries. So we want to be doing incredibly well, because we know when we're doing well, the industry as a whole is doing incredibly well.
But since you mentioned ILTM, maybe I'm at your website. It's about luxury tourism. That's what ILTM is, if I understand this correctly. Tell us a little bit more about ILTM. I know we're talking about travel shows and world travel market, but what is ILTM?
Sure. And ILTM was actually born out of World Travel Market. So, and to our professor friend in Serbia, I don't want to give your age away, but WTM, I think it's 41 years old, or the next edition will be the 41st edition. But in 2001, really when we started to see major growth from the luxury travel industry, particularly from tourists from US and the UK, a lot of the hoteliers really started to focus on agencies that were beginning to specialize exclusively in luxury and luxury leisure, etc. So ILTM was born out of WTM, where we created an invitation-only event with a fully hosted by a 100% pre-scheduled appointment event in Cannes in the south of France in December. So we take some 1,800 hoteliers, destinations, crews, private jet, and so on, so forth suppliers from some 90 countries around the world to meet on a one-to-one basis with some 1,800 personally invited and selected luxury travel agents from 75 countries around the world to sit and do business. So we've had platforms that have been using algorithms to create meetings between people with like-minded necessities for over 20 years now. ILTM in Cannes generates 52,000 pre-scheduled appointments. So I guess we've been a digital company much longer than we realized, but we've just speeded up a lot of our digital evolution in the past year. So.
How do you see the luxury travel market? And because of course, these days we're all expecting that niche market somehow, and luxury could be a niche, of course, have a chance of are in a different boat altogether. We had a session a month or two ago with the Minister of Tourism and the head of the tourism board from the Seychelles we work with, and we talked about luxury travel and private jet. The Seychelles allowed tourism arrivals with private jets while the country was closed for everyone else. So what is different between the luxury market and the regular traditional travel market? Is the luxury market killing the small guys or the medium guys, or are they helping the small and medium guys? How is this playing together?
So, Jürgen, again, a lot of great questions there. I think, when we, ironically, and so a lot of people will agree or disagree, that the wealthy are coming out of this pandemic quite well, with quite a lot of disposable income still in their back pockets. We've seen great, so Biden is introducing massive economic packages. A lot of the wealthy have got incredibly wealthy as a result of Trump. The stock market has done incredibly well, so on and so forth. And this is not just in the US, but all around the world. When we talk on a luxury level, there's kind of three different types of luxury clientele. There is a natural assumption to assume when you talk of luxury that it's just ultra luxury, which is people who are traveling to the Seychelles on private jet when it's closed. We are definitely, undoubtedly, and I had a really fascinating exchange with Wheels Up in the past few days, seeing a massive growth in private aviation because it is secure, because I think people's greatest fear, a lot of luxury travelers' greatest fear is to get stuck somewhere. So private aviation not only allows for safety and security, but accessibility or the ability to return home at ease. My personal opinion is that I guess you've got the consumers' two schools of thought. One that tends to be leaning towards an independently owned, operated type of property versus those who are going for the safety and security of a big brand. I really think it's 50-50 right now. We're seeing perhaps independent, wealthy owners of luxury hotels in a much stronger position than major brands that are managing hotels. So it's hit and mix, but I think one thing's for sure, I think the luxury traveler will definitely come back. It will be one of the first niches to come back, and we've talked as well about the LGBTQ traveler who are sometimes more adventurous, but I also wholeheartedly agree with Wolfgang's point about great open spaces. When I traveled in August and avoiding over tourism, I went to the far north of Scotland, very remote, and I think luxury travelers obviously have the ability to go to remote destinations where they know they're not going to be overwhelmed with tourists as well.
Yeah, you brought up an interesting subject, and I assume that the world travel market in Latin America, this kind of reflects maybe also the picture of exhibitors. It's luxury, LGBTQ, and other markets. Now, since you brought up LGBTQ, I always had a concern. And this concern is in regards to the Middle East and the Arabian travel market. What Arabian travel market, in my opinion, is one of the best organized and most respected markets, but it doesn't, like all the other travel markets you're involved in, includes LGBTQ because we're talking about legality. So I'm wondering what Reed, as an influencer, specifically, I asked the same questions to WTTC many years ago and to UNWTO, and they both made statements, but it hasn't changed. Now, since you're a global organization, you have a global responsibility. How do you what do you do to also include LGBTQ travel at events like the Arabian travel market? Are you in discussions, or are these like no discussions in that part of the world?
You know what? So we have Proud Experiences, our event Proud Experiences, which we launched, we took to New York. And what I was really amazed with was to see a number of properties, internationally renowned properties, or in fact, Dubai headquartered properties such as Kerzner International, who has properties in the Maldives, and obviously a large number of properties in the Middle East. As well as other properties from lesser known, lesser obvious destinations, but a lot of properties from Maldives, for example. Private sector in the local destinations needs to drive this, and we need to be able to support them in driving this. And I've seen, and I'm not sure whether it was you, Jürgen, who put the question to one of the ministers ministers of tourism in Abu Dhabi, who diplomatically says we accept everyone. Everyone is welcome.
I did this with a few ministers of tourism, also for Uganda, and we're still friends in Uganda. So.
Well, and you look, we saw what happened with the Dorchester collection and Brunei. The power of the collective response and the power of the travel industry can and does have make a difference. We've seen it in India as well in recent times. So I understand that change in the Middle East is slower, and not just LGBTQ issues, but around women in travel, which is something else that we celebrate enormously. So I'm confident change will come. I absolutely agree that we have a responsibility collectively, and a responsibility to use our shows as a platform as drivers for change, and we definitely see that, and that's really why Proud Experiences came about. Hopefully one day soon we'll be traveling in the Middle East comfortably as gay couples or LGBTQ families. And I think that's one of the important things that's changing everything. It's not just about the gay individual traveler or the gay couples. It's the fact that people have gay children or they have gay parents. And so it is very diverse these days. And one of the fascinating statistics that we use is 8% of baby boomers identify as LGBTQ, whereas 31% of centennials, that's 1997 onwards, identify as LGBTQ. And what's really shifting it is the Q. The Q, which is either queer or questioning. Don't put me in a box. I don't know what I am. I'll fall in love with who I want to fall in love with. And that may change on a regular basis, etc. So on and so forth. So people are going to have to pay attention, and they're going to miss out because it's potentially a third of everyone's future clientele.
And I agree, and this world is fast moving, especially Corona opens up opportunities in this way, not only with LGBTQ. If you also look at the situation in the Middle East, now a peace agreement between Israel and the UAE and other Gulf region countries, who would have ever thought about it before Corona? So I think we're living in a time of unexpected opportunities, as bad as the times are. And we're almost out of time talking about time, but I'm wondering, exhibiting at the World Travel Market these days, with the economy being down, with tourism, many in the tourism businesses losing jobs, how much is it compared to how much it was before to exhibit at WTM? And what do you expect is the return to the dollar or the euro or the pound in investing in becoming an exhibitor at one of your events?
So what I would really say to that actually is with WTM, and certainly what what we have seen historically and what we're seeing right now is that tourism we're seeing now more than ever. So I think of my dear friend Ruben and Argentina as a tourism board, for example. We spoke to them a couple of weeks ago and they said, we need to get information out there. We need to be clear with the travel trade. What is happening in Argentina? What will be happening in the future? Where we're at with vaccination programs? What is open? When will we be open? And so on and so forth. And I think that's the point. It's going to be more important and critical than ever. So we're going to see governments who act and behaving responsibly, investing in supporting their tourism travel trade, those who really understand that it is responsible for 1 in 10 jobs in their country and their economy. They will invest and they will subsidize the private sector. The private sector is in a terrible situation right now. It's not going to be in a great situation in terms of the first half of this year. Hopefully we all see some improvements or some money starting to flow to a lot of these guys beyond domestic business for the second half of the year. We all need collectively to continue to work with the tourism boards to drive the importance of tourism boards and governments investing in the travel and tourism industry and investing in promoting their countries abroad, supporting the private sector to do so. I won't answer your question specifically because we have a vast range of options with each of the events, and they come in. I work in 3 different currencies: reais, pounds, and dollars, which sends my head into a spin, certainly at 6:30 in the evening. So forgive me for that one, and especially with our fluctuations.
No, I didn't, of course, mean to give us rates here or anything like this. And I think you have a good point that tourism boards should be in business to keep their destination open, because now the world is going to become more competitive as ever. Last night, we at eTurbo News published a study done by the Pacific Asia Travel Association that in the best scenario, in 2023, we can expect, I believe it was 92 or 94% of our business back from 2019. But in 2021, that's when your first Latin America and Arabian and hopefully also the London exhibition will take place. This number is only like 17, 18%. And the worst scenario, I better not mention. So I'm sure that WTM, ITB, and everyone else out there is contributing to helping this tourism world to reopen. And I know it is essential to do this in a responsible way. Otherwise, we're going to close it for even longer. There is some good light at the end of the tunnel because we have the vaccine. Hopefully the vaccine is stable with all the different versions they are now around of this awful virus, and we're all in this together. And as long as we stay in this together, I think we can succeed it. And I know we're almost out of time, so Peter, I want to give you kind of the last word here. And before, of course, we give Simon the very last word to say goodbye to everyone.
Well, I'm not going to speak long because I think we've spent a lot of time talking. But I want to thank Simon, and I also want to thank Natalia for all of their work in bringing about the world tourism markets around the world. I think what we started with is where we should end, and that is that this is all about creating the relationships that will allow economic activity to once again start. No one knows what the future will hold, but if we all work together, hopefully we can have a major impact in shaping that future. So thank you all for having listened. And again, if you can get to Sao Paulo, I might like to do it again. I go to Brazil all the time. I really encourage you to attend. So good luck.
And Peter, before I forgot the most important part, I'm sorry, it's such a fascinating discussion, but I wanted to let everyone know, if you just tuned in or you missed some of our discussion, this was a very interesting session. You can find it archived. Just go to worldtourismevents.com and you'll find this and many other events we had in the past. And someone told me, where can I find it? Because there's only one page. Just click on view all. There are two view all, one for past events and one for upcoming events. We have a number of events coming up, like the tour guide, like the African. We have an event about wine tourism coming up, I think in 2 days from now. And there's a lot more. So just tune in and stay tuned. You will also, if you watch it on eTurbo News right now, good chance it will repeat itself, because we're repeating it for the next 24 hours. So you can watch it again and tell everyone else. So worldtourismevents.com. And if you're not a member yet of the World Tourism Network, you should become a member. They're both free and paid options. The difference is, with the paid options, you get access to everything, and with the free option, you're an observer. Just go to WTN.travel, W for World Tourism Network, WTN.travel, and you can join us. Also, if you wanted to easily find some of our past events, specifically in December, and if you don't want to go all the way back down pages on our World Tourism Network, there's also worldexpo.travel. Worldexpo.travel, you'll find a lot of our events we had in the past. And with this, I wanted to say thank you to everyone for watching, and give Simon, and specifically thank you for Simon. And I hope we can work together. I hope also Reed will join WTN. So there's not only a WTM in your mind, but also WTN. We would welcome this, and maybe you wanted to lead a special interest group on events, because we don't have that yet. I think you would be well qualified to do this. And of course, LGBTQ, we also don't have an interest group on this yet. Simon, thank you. And the last word is yours.
So thanks so much. As I said previously, I just love the conversation. I've loved the exchange. I've loved hearing everyone's different opinions, and I've loved hearing from people from across the world. It's been a long time since I chatted with people from Germany, Düsseldorf, and Nigeria, Serbia, the US, all in one place, and I really, really appreciate it. Please keep in contact. We'd love to be one of your committees or leadership groups in terms of events and LGBTQ, definitely. And please do follow us on WTM.com as well. We've got a great hub there as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. And hopefully we see you in 2 days at our wine event. If you're interested in wine and champagne and in taxation of this, you should watch. Good night, good morning, goodbye. See you later.